Yeah, while the collection is still going on, I want to tell you I'm so glad to see you here and celebrate the service together with you. I'm Mark Mick, the pastor of this church, and something lays on my heart for this morning. The title for the service of today, sermon of today's, do you watch or do you live already? This is an idiom of Swedish furniture factory. Have you been cheated by someone? Have paid too much? Have been abroad and you realize the course of money is wrong? Have you been really
Computer zu Hause stehen in unserem Computerzimmer und wir haben den gebraucht, ja, für die Schule, für Schularbeiten. Wir mussten Dokumente schreiben und so weiter.
Have you been ripped off? This is the word I was searching for. When I was a young man, I've loaded something down on my PC. It was a program which was for free. And in little small written, it stood something that this program was not for free. It just seemed to be. And I just downloaded this program, and sometime afterwards came a reminder to pay. And they wanted to have 100 euros for one program, which is normally for free. And I don't know what I've clicked, but I had to pay this. I was a teenie. I could not pay for it by myself. We could have recalled this, but I didn't. And afterwards, I was really angry about myself. And just watch out. And that's what I can tell you, and which was my lection. In the Bible, there's told about a person who has ripped off people by profession. This is a text which is only found in the Gospel of Luke. And I would like to look about the verses and share some thoughts about it. The Bible, not the ones who know the Bible know what I mean. Luke 19, verse 1, Jesus entered Jericho and was passing through. This was the introduction of this story. It's just a normal assertion. No, it just seems like this. It's not the same if we go through the town or if Jesus joins us. Maybe I'm too slow for you and this bothers you. Maybe you go through town and realize some faces you already know, and you have an aim where you want to go, and so you don't stop and talk to those people. Sometimes you do meet somebody and just talk a little moment to them while you are in town. With Jesus, this was different. In the stadium of his ministry, when he went through the town, everyone was alarmed. Everyone has heard about him. Everyone wanted to go to him and hear him, wanted to see him. He was already all time. He was accompanied by many of people, and he had to go on a mountain to have silence around him. Everyone wanted to talk to him and see the wonders and how he was teaching. One day, a lame man had to be brought to Jesus through a roof because you could not go through the crowd. And so Jesus came to Jericho, and everyone wanted to go into town and see him. And Jesus went through this town, and we read, a man was there by the name of Zacchaeus. He was a chief tax collector and was wealthy. Who was this man? And why is it so important that Jesus mentioned this profession? He was really successful in his profession. He did not earn a little bit of money. He was really prosperous. In another translation, he was pronounced as the chief of the tax collectors, and he had much influence because he was the chief of many tax collectors in the region. The problem was that the tax collectors worked for the Romans, the occupiers. They served the enemy and were tools in their hands. Through his profession, they had contact with Gentiles, and the tax collectors even worked for them. In the divine, they were despised for this. His wealth of Zacchaeus came through extortion. Someone came into town and wanted to sell trade his things. And Zacchaeus thought he could take a little bit more than he was supposed to and just put it in his own pocket. He exploited the people. He was a criminal. People despised him. Zacchaeus tried to have a view on Jesus, but he was too small to look over the crowd. Even this Zacchaeus heard about the message Jesus would be in town, and he was keen on seeing him. He tried to see him. And we find an evidence that Jesus always was surrounded from a crowd in this story. Someone like Dirk Nowitzki does not have to take any effort to look over the crowd, but Zacchaeus was really small and could not see anything. This was a problem. He could not stand on anything which was beside to be a little higher. But Zacchaeus was really full of knowledge, and he knew how to help himself, and he just climbed upon a tree to see Jesus from up there. He was a real good climber, and he could estimate where Jesus would go to. It was a mulberry tree. This is a picture of such a tree. I did not have know how this tree looks like. Zacchaeus was ready to do something which was not really expression of his stand. Someone who has such influence does not climb on trees. Children might do, but not the chief of the tax collectors. But Zacchaeus has done it because he wanted to see Jesus. And he climbed up this tree. And when I was thinking about the state of Zacchaeus, I ask a question for myself and ask it to you. Is there something in our life which is like this mulberry tree where we should go on to see Jesus? Our head says, this is not proper. What will the people say? Our friends say, I won't play football with my friends, but I go into the church. I go into the small group and pray together and read in the Bible. What will the people think? It could lead into loneliness because I just let my friends go. When we just release our normal thinking and do not let us be averted from all our thoughts. If you want to see Jesus, there will be occasions to come into his presence. Zacchaeus took this on himself to do this. When Jesus came, he saw Zacchaeus and called him to come down because he wanted to be in his house. Zacchaeus should be his host. You have to imagine Zacchaeus was sitting in this tree and Jesus, surrounded from a big crowd, looked up to the tree and says, Zacchaeus, Zacchaeus, let your hair down. Of course, you know this is a fairy tale. And Jesus called Zacchaeus by his name. Maybe other people, small people, has done the same, but he just called Zacchaeus by his name. And he said, just fast come down, because I have to be your guest today. I want to have companionship with you. Consciously himself, he just called. Jesus does not oversee this single person, Zacchaeus, and says, come down. Today I have to be with you. Jesus has done something that was not proper in our opinion. Is he allowed to? Yes, of course he is allowed to, because he's God. Jesus has invited himself. You can try to do this with your friends. Invite yourself. You just fire on the barbecue for me? No, you don't do it this way. You just make an appointment and just clear who brings which stuff with him. But Jesus, no, he invited himself at the moment. Why? And how does Zacchaeus react? Where Jesus called him and expressed he wanted to have companionship with him, there's nothing of despise and scorn. He does not point at him and laugh about him and to tell him a lecture about his criminal ministry. Jesus could say and point at him, yes, just look at him. This one is the one who rips you off. Just take an example of him. That's how you should not live. If he was right, Jesus had told, but he didn't. The only thing what he said was he wanted to have time and fellowship with Zacchaeus at his home. He wanted to come to know Zacchaeus. And with this invitation, he kind of asked a question. Are you ready to honor me? Because this was what a meal together expressed. This is an expression of esteem, of friendship, if you share a meal with another. How do we deal with people who do something which we do not accept? Do we put them into mental cupboards, just right in the cupboard and shut it up? Forget this problem. How do we deal with persons who look different than we, or think in another way, have other claims and aspirations? I do realize the way of Jesus, that we first have to come to know these people and spend time with them. When was the last time you invited someone you don't know really good? When did you open your doors? I do not know these people, but I want to have some fellowship with him. I don't want to think about him in a special way and put him in a cupboard. Hospitality is something that is a character of us Christians. I could give some evidence in the Bible, but from Hebrews 32 says, do not neglect to show hospitality to strangers, for thereby some have entertained angels unawares. It's so easy to just be alone, live without contacts. Me and God just bless us. Which we see in this encounter with Zacchaeus and Jesus. It is so important to have fellowship. How about Christians to be known because of hospitality, and that everyone knows that we share our meal with others? When did you practice this last time? First, strangers, foreigners. What's so important, so special if you do this with friends? But let us be known by this character and open our doors. Jesus calls Zacchaeus, I have to be invited by you. What did Zacchaeus? He just climbed down as fast as he could and was so excited to have fellowship with Jesus. And he was ready at the moment to lead Jesus into his house. Zacchaeus has not done it because of pressure by the crowd. Everyone wanted to see him. I think these words, excitement and joy, are really, they describe which is meant in this situation. It was really joy in Zacchaeus. His reaction was an expression of yearning. Maybe there is a faith starting in his heart. Maybe Jesus went through the streets and he saw Zacchaeus because he realized there was a starting faith in the heart of Zacchaeus. Maybe he has thought about his life in the nights, about all the money, if it is worth all the problems he had. Faith awakes God's attention. That's what we can see in this story with Zacchaeus. That something in his heart expressed this. Even if your faith is so small, I don't know, so many things, I don't know. Even if it's that your faith is like a little seed, Jesus sees it. This little tiny plant, I want to invest in it. I want to see his faith growing and help him wherever he stands. We're in this image. I've told you several times Jesus was not alone. They saw this and the people reacted. We see it in verse 7. All the people saw this and began to mutter, he has gone to be the guest of a sinner. Everyone who knew Jesus was disappointed that Jesus went to this tax collector as a holy person. Jesus wanted to have fellowship with this sinner. Most of the Pharisees were bothered, but today, at this moment, everyone was annoyed. Someone who was such a sinner should not be together with a holy man. As I was thinking about this, maybe you has experienced God in your life. This is fantastic. You're a follower of Jesus. And Jesus started to place everything in order in your life. And you realize your friends around you cannot understand the step you've just taken. Maybe friendships break and tensions come up. people do not like
Wenn das
this,
jetzt ist,
your decision.
sagen,
If this is the case, I want to tell you,
eine Folie vergessen, aber ich würde sagen, du kannst nicht allen gefallen.
you cannot
Du kannst nicht allen gefallen. Das kann keiner machen.
please everyone,
Aber du kannst Gott gefallen.
but you can please God.
Du kannst nicht allen gefallen, aber du kannst Gott gefallen.
Not everyone, but God you can please.
Und Zachäus traf diese Entscheidung.
Zacchaeus has made this decision for himself. I want to please God.
Also Jesus ist mit ihm jetzt in seinem Haus. Und den Leuten gefällt das gar nicht.
While
Ja?
Zacchaeus was in the house of Jesus was in the house of Zacchaeus,
Herr, ich werde die Hälfte
He's-
meines Reichtums
he
den
said,
Armen geben. Und wenn ich die
Lord,
Leute
look
meine Steuern
here,
betrogen habe,
and
dann
I-
gebe ich ihnen vierfach.
and now I give half of my possessions to
Wie
poor.
kommt das denn jetzt auf einmal? Jesus ist nun bei Zachäus
How
zu Hause.
about this?
Und ohne dass
Jesus
etwas
now
sagt,
at home,
berichtet Lukas uns nichts darüber.
and without
Zachäus
Jesus saying
trifft eine
anything,
Entscheidung.
Zacchaeus set up this decision, and this decision changed his whole life. Not only in a little sentence he told this, no, he stood in front of Jesus and said it to the Lord. Really important thing. I have to tell you something, Jesus. And it was such an important decision for him that he wanted to give everything back he has ripped people off. The money was his problem. He was ready to be despised because he just ripped off people. This was the way he decided to go. And now, once in a moment, he was ready to release it. When he encountered Jesus, he realized the real worth of life. With Jesus together in my house, this is the important thing for my life, which is a real value in my life. To share my money with others. Maybe it meant Zacchaeus had to resign. He had to perform his profession without ribbery. Verse 9 said, today's salvation has come to this house because this man too is a son of Abraham. For the Son of Man came in to seek and to save the lost. We know that salvation is a gift which you only can receive through Jesus. You cannot work on salvation. Zacchaeus could not buy it. The more was his decision so important to give away his money and to live with maxims of God's kingdom. The man comes to know Jesus and makes a decision for him. That's what we can see in this story. Repentance is not the... Oh, sorry, did not get this. An encounter with Jesus led to this change in life of Zacchaeus. In the program of Jesus, you can read in verse 10. He wants to save everyone. We are the feet and hands of Jesus. This almighty teacher talked to this chief of sinners. Exactly for these people, Jesus came. Jesus did not have joy to be with the higher society. He wanted to go to the sick and those who needed help and serve them. He came to seek for people. Jesus said in John 14, verse 6, I'm the way. No one comes to the Lord than through me. Are you just looking and watching, or are you already living? This is what I asked. Zacchaeus wanted to see, to look. But Jesus has found him. Jesus has saved him. He invested in his small faith. And Zacchaeus opened his heart for him and was allowed to experience rescue. Where are the Zacchaeus in your life? Are there any people in your life who are sitting on the tree and want to see Jesus in your life? Are you ready to stop for Jesus, to open your doors and have fellowship with people and tell them what changed your life and your heart? I want to prepare for this time and just bring them as esteem. No matter how you stand to faith, I see you as someone who needs Jesus. That's what we are supposed to tell the people. If you don't know Jesus, fine, and think about your situation and think you're like a Zacchaeus in the tree, but I still want to have some space in between Jesus and me. It may happen that Jesus calls you right now. Come down. The question is, how do you respond? I tell you, do it like Zacchaeus and do it with joy and invite Jesus right now. But the decision is up to you. Are you still watching or are you living? And everything the world has for us is really good often. In the right frame, it's really good. And this moment, I want to invite you to react to this message and shut your eyes for a moment. Have a really personal moment together with God, because He is here. Jesus is here. I invite you to give an answer. Maybe you found yourself on the mulberry tree, and I always look from a different distance, and Jesus is not yet in my house. I'm still watching, but I realize in my heart there's a little plant which is growing. Faith is somehow in my heart. I cannot react in another way than to see Jesus. And that's why I invite you to touch this Jesus at the moment and invite Him today. And if you are going along with Jesus, I want to ask you to be hands and feet for Jesus in order for Him to be seen in this world. Are we ready to have hospitality and love people and to be used by our talents or our money? our resources, do we let Him be known in this world? No matter what is the case for you, I will give you a moment to react to this now. Tell it to Him. Lord Jesus, I thank you that you're here for this example with Zacchaeus. It's so good to know that even if there's a crowd around you, you see everyone personally and you call us by our name. Lord, I pray for everyone who is still sitting on the mulberry tree in distance and watching. My prayer is that these people let themselves be called by you and that they experience salvation like Zacchaeus, because you're a God who speaks, who is reality. And I pray for everyone who's going along with you. Let us be persons who look around and be a blessing for all the people around us, to serve them, to invite them, to have fellowship. And there where we are without courage, then open our eyes that we can spread your message in this world. And we want to be hospitable. Open our doors to serve others, only to give love to them. Give us your Spirit and change our hearts where it needs change. Thank you, you work on us, and we love you. And all together say amen.